friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan, and today I will be talking about my April wrap-up, or all the books that I read in April. So I have my little table set here with all the books, and we'll just go in order of the stack here. The very first thing I participated in was the De-Stress-a-thon in April, which was a 24-hour readathon. You can check the link in the description below to watch my 24-hour readathon vlog. But we did have 3 prompts to complete. The first was to reread a favorite, so for that I chose The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This was actually also the Half-Blood Book Club pick of the month, and I just love this series so much. It's 100% 5 out of 5 stars for me, and it just is such a nostalgic piece that it can do no wrong in my eyes, and I will forever love it, just because it was such a monumental hurdle, or not hurdle, but like moment in my childhood and my reading journey. So this will forever be a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Next, we had to do a buddy read, and for that I read Heartstopper Volume 1. I ended up giving this one 5 stars as well. I will admit in the very beginning I was not getting into it at all, but by the end I loved the characters and I 100% want to purchase the book. I do not have it as a physical copy. I read it on Webtoon, but it was a lot of fun. Next, we had to read a book under 250 pages, so for that I chose Saga Volume 1. This is a sci-fi Romeo and Juliet, so we have 2 members of opposing clans who are in this huge like Star War battle, not Star Wars, but like sci-fi battle, I guess you could say. It was way more graphic than I ever anticipated, however, so I ended up giving it 3 stars just because sometimes graphicness can get in the way of my enjoyment in a piece. Next, moving on to if I completed the magical readathon or not. My goal was to become a Care of Magical Creatures professor, so I had 4 prompts to complete. The first was Care of Magical Creatures, which was to read a book with a animal that has a beak on the cover. So for this I chose Catching Fire, which has a bird. Birds have beaks, so it completed the prompt, and this is my favorite book in the Hunger Games trilogy, so I thoroughly enjoyed this reread. Finnick Odair is one of the ultimate male characters in my opinion, and I just love, again, this series so much. It's so nostalgic, and honestly, Catching Fire, the movie, I think is the best book-to-movie adaptation out there. So overall, this story and this book is so pristine. Next, I had to study for my herbology exam, and that was to study the plant Mimbleyus Mimbletonia. I always butcher that, but for that we had to read a book that starts with M. I chose The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. This book was kind of similar to Heartstopper. It was just not my favorite in the beginning. The dialect and the language was really hard to pick up on, but overall, in the end, the characters got me, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This book tells a story of a system of castes, and we follow a girl named Phi, who is a crow, which is the lowest caste. Crows have the ability to conjure magic through teeth or bones, and it's really interesting. So learning about this world and these characters was a lot of fun. There's an enemies to lovers romance, there's a prince in disguise, there's teeth magic. It's a really fun time. Oh, and my favorite character is the cat named Barf. Next, we were studying potions, specifically the shrinking potion. So we had to read a book under 150 pages. For this, I chose Saga Volume 3. You might be thinking that I skipped Volume 2, but we'll get to that later. I just wanted to stick with the magical readathon prompts. In this volume, we are introduced to Gwendolyn, Sophie, and the author, all 3 characters of which made the story a little bit more enjoyable for me despite the graphicness. However, it still stands at a 3 out of 5 stars overall. Next was Charms, and we were studying the charm Lumos, or Lumos Maxima, I forget exactly which one. However, it was to read a book with a white or mostly white cover. I originally had planned to read American Royals, but after actually looking at the cover instead of just the spine, it was mostly blue, so I ended up switching to Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. This is the 3rd book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. Overall, this felt very high school, which makes sense because Lara Jean is in high school. However, I am a college recruiter, so it was really fun to see a high school student's perspective on choosing college, and actually kind of informative to me. Overall, I was able to relate to the long distance relationship, and I did recently get out of college, so it wasn't that long ago. But contemporaries are always a hit or miss, mostly miss for me, so this ended up being 3 stars. So in the completion of those 4 books, I was able to obtain a passing grade in all of my exams for Care of Magical Creatures. However, I did want to take it a step further and obtain my dragon taming license as well, and for this you had to not only have the credentials for Care of Magical Creatures, which I did complete, but also complete a book all about dragons, and for this I chose Shatter the Sky by Rebecca Kim Wells. I had no idea what this book was about other than it had a dragon on the reversible dust cover. This is the Lit Joy edition of Shatter the Sky, and that is the only reason I picked it, is because it did have a dragon. And honestly, I don't think I would have picked this up if I hadn't been introduced to it or like had to choose it through the owls. But wow, am I so happy I did. This was 100% a 5 out of 5 stars for me. We follow a girl whose significant other is taken, so she wants to seek revenge by stealing a dragon and going out of her clan, and she has to go into enemy territory and try to steal this dragon. We learn all about dragon taming and the nurturing of dragons and this magical system, and it was so much fun. 5 out of 5 stars, and yes. So I did, as I said, complete my Care of Magical Creatures and Dragon Taming credentials, so we will move on to the other books I read in April that did not have to do with the Magical Readathon. The first was a buddy read I completed with Eric from Break Even Books. I will link his channel down below. We read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which follows the story of a girl in college who is writing a fan fiction. It's based on a novel called Simon Snow in this story, but in our world we would know it as a Draco and Harry fanfiction, as you could say. But overall, it was a lot of fun. However, all of the issues brought up were never really touched on deeply. Overall, the whole thing felt very shallow. I wasn't aware of what the overall arching conflict was, and I just don't know how I feel about it. It got a 2 out of 5 stars for me, which is one of the lowest ratings I've given a book, I think, in my booktube channel. I just wasn't a fan. Yeah. I am still planning to read Carry On and Wayward Son in May, so hopefully I enjoy those more, but this will probably be unhauled. And of course, because I read The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, I did have to pick up Mockingjay to complete the reread of the trilogy in anticipation of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes coming out this month. Again, I love the trilogy. It's 5 out of 5 stars. Overall, Mockingjay wasn't my favorite book. However, as I said, this trilogy can do no wrong because it was so monumental to my reading journey that I just have to give it 5 out of 5 stars. It's kind of similar to Harry Potter. But yes, overall, 5 out of 5 stars. I hate the ending, I think, as everyone else does, but what can you do? At least it's better than Allegiant. And as I said, we would come back to it. Here is Saga Volume 2. This was probably the most graphic of the 3 so far, and as I said, I like the story, but the graphicness is just getting to me and making it a little bit unenjoyable. I am planning to finish all 9 that have been written so far, just because I do want to continue the story, but I don't think it's a graphic novel I'll go out of my way to collect. I'll probably pick up the rest of the volumes at the library and unhaul what I do have so far. Next, I finished Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alvarez-Sanez. But this is a coming-of-age story between 2 boys who are just trying to figure out life. It's really cute, very fluffy. They do delve into some harder topics, which I enjoyed, and I think they touched on them pretty well. It was really enjoyable to read, very light as far as everything else going on in the world right now, so this was very easy to get into. However, as I said, as always, contemporaries just never stick with me, so I probably will be unhauling this as well. And the final two books I read were Girls of Paper and Fire and Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nyan. Girls of Paper and Fire completely enraptured me right from the get-go. I loved it from the prologue. I actually messaged to my friends and I was like, can you fall in love with a book 5 pages in? Because I loved it that much. It's probably my favorite read of the year thus far. Absolutely loved it. It tells a story of 3 casts where there's human, and then demon fully. And the demon king takes in 8 concubines every year. However, this year they make an exception for the character we follow, who is taken in as the 9th concubine. There's politics, there's royalty, there's magic, there's caste systems, there's very, very heavy sexual assault triggers, so please be warned about that. But overall, I just absolutely love this book and can't get enough of it. However, Girls of Storm and Shadow did disappoint a little bit. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it was still a lot of fun discovering and being part of the world, and we were introduced to some characters that I did enjoy. However, overall, this felt very much like a filler story between books 1 and 3, so I'm crossing my fingers 3 lives up to expectations. So those were all the books that I read in April. Please let me know what your thoughts were of any of the books that I've read, if you've read them, or what books you read in April and your thoughts on those. And thank you so much for watching. I'll check in with you in my next one. Bye, friends.